Hi there, I'm Christine Dunbar from speechmodification.com, and this is my Smart American Accent training. Welcome to our Vowels Challenge series, where we're going through each of the vowels of American English. We're talking about how they're spelled, how to pronounce them correctly, what words they're in, and what accent error patterns to watch out for. So in today's class, I want to talk about vowel I, as in pink pig. This is a high front lax vowel, and we'll talk about what that means. So far, we've done an overview lesson looking at the vowel quadrangle. You can start the beginning of the series if you want to understand more about this diagram. We also talked about the E vowel, the high front tense vowel, as in green tea. So we're moving on from the E vowel now to the I vowel. These two vowels are related, as you can probably tell, since they're both high and in the front. And so what we mean by high front tense vowel is that when I say the I sound, like in pink pig, my tongue is high and the sound happens forward in my mouth. So when you say I, your tongue is up fairly high and the vowel resonance is in the little space in the front of the mouth. It's important to recognize that the E vowel, as in green tea, is the highest and most front, E, and then I is slightly lower. This is the main error that people have, is that rather than doing a high front lax vowel for I, they may use the E vowel instead and be too tense. What I mean by that is if you're trying to say a word like live, it lives, you might end up saying, instead of live, you might say it more like leave. There is a continuum between these two vowels, so the other error is that you may not be saying all the way to leave when you're trying to say live, but it might be a little tense. So you might not make enough difference between the tense leave and the lax live. Let's look at how to correct that error and teach you more about the vowel I so you can understand it and use it correctly. So vowel I is typically spelled with letter I. That's the most common spelling, and most of the time when you see letter I in a word, it's going to be the I sound. Letter I, of course, says I and some other sounds as well. Most of the time, though, about 95% of the time, letter I is going to say the I sound. So in all of these little words like did, is, it, isn't, different, didn't, etc., it's going to have your lax I sound. We do have a few other spellings, other words that have the I sound. These are not as common. So you really want to start thinking about when you see letter I in English, you can think of the I sound. The symbol for the I sound is an uppercase I in the IPA. Some dictionaries may use a different symbol, but you can learn the guide in that dictionary for which sound says I. Memorize it, and then when you're looking up a word, for example, if you see the word pretty in the dictionary in IPA, you're going to see pretty. You'll see this I vowel for the first letter, the I sound. So pretty is an example of an unusual spelling for the sound I. In the word pretty, we spell I with letter E. It would make more sense to write pretty that way. We do spell the word city with the letter I that rhymes with pretty. That one we use one T for some reason instead of two T's like in pretty. So if it helps you to visualize these words with the letter I, go for it. For many people, when you see the letter I, you're going to be thinking about this E, green tea sound, because in many languages, letter I does say E. In English, it typically says I. So that's part of the problem and challenge with this vowel. Another challenge with this vowel is that a lot of languages don't have lax vowels. They don't really have much of an I sound. And so your tendency is to want to substitute your native language vowel sound, which might be closer to an E, typically is an E. That's in many languages. I is not in a lot of languages. So if it's not part of your vowel inventory, it can be helpful to really drill on listening to the I sound, using some words, contrast words. So learning about, for example, eat, which has the E vowel, and it, which has the I vowel. Eat, it. Feeling the difference in the height of eat and relaxing of it. Leave and live. Deed and did, etc. I have a number of videos about that here on the channel and specific practices for the I vowel, I and E vowels. Also in our Sounds of English course, we walk you through the steps of practicing this and give you contrasts to help you hear it. Listening is always really useful for vowels as well. So we're going to also, when we want to learn how to practice, we're going to also want to use 2-word phrases with the I sound, and be able to match your I sounds. So for example, I want to be able to say things like it did, it's been, it didn't, it's living, and make sure that my I sound is consistent in both words. Oftentimes, people have an easier time on a word like it because it's typically not stressed. It's going to be a shorter duration vowel, and so it's a little bit easier for them to be lax when it's short. I'll hear a lot of my clients and speakers say things like it deed, where the I vowel is correct in the word it, and then when it comes to the stressed word did, where I have to hold it longer, that's where they get tense. It deed instead of it did. So when you do 2-word phrases, you can try to really match and make the same vowel both times, even when one is held for a shorter time and one is held for a longer time. So back to our spelling. Mainly you're going to see this spelled as letter I. In some words, like in pretty, it's spelled with letter E. Where that usually happens is at the start of a word when we have letters RE or BE and that first syllable is unstressed. Rather than return, I have return. This is where our I is a short reduced vowel in an unstressed syllable. So it's a main vowel in words like did and didn't. In return, it's a reduced vowel. It's still the I sound, but it's in a short unstressed syllable. Also an unusual spelling with E. In American English, we say this word bin, the same as a garbage bin. In British English, they use a little bit more bean, so they will use some tension on that vowel, but in American English, I've been taking it to the bin. And then we also have a spelling of the I vowel with letter U in words like busy and business. We can also spell it with letter Y in words like myth. That's pretty untypical as well. So for the most part, spelled with letter I for the I sound. The main error is getting too tense, and then ways to practice those contrasts like eat and it, leave and live, and then also practice 2-word phrases that both have the I sound. Use a lot of listening and repeating. You can use my videos here on the channel for that and our Sounds of English course for that. Trying to match, keep the vowel the same. It did, it didn't, it's been busy, a busy city, really busy, pretty busy, using a lot of these same words. So common, I like to really practice on the common everyday words. These are the ones that we're going to say the most. And remember that those little short words like it and is tend to be a little easier. You may have more difficulty when you have to hold that vowel longer, but you don't want to make it tenser when it's longer. You just want to be able to use the same I vowel with a longer duration. As I mentioned, there's a number of videos talking about the spelling and the pronunciation of the I vowel, how to correct it, how to practice on it. I have some specific practice videos where you can listen to those contrasts and repeat, and you can build your skills. Of course, for any sound that you're trying to change in English, once you've mastered it in words, you want to start using those words in sentences and trying to hold on to your I vowel as you're practicing. You might find that that's a little bit challenging and you have a tendency to go back to your old habits. But the more you're listening and the more you get comfortable with the tongue position, your brain needs to hear it, your ear needs to hear it, and you need to kind of get that feedback loop of correcting and using the new vowel sound. So that's what we'll be talking about throughout this vowels challenge. So far we've covered the vowel E, like in green tea, and the vowel I, like in pink pig. So we'll be working our way through the whole vowel quadrangle to help you understand and use these vowels correctly. Oftentimes, learning the symbols is useful when it comes to vowels because you want to be able to look up words in the dictionary and know what vowel symbols they are, what vowel sounds they are, and the symbols will tell you that. Also, if we learn some basic spelling rules and typical spelling patterns of English, that's helpful for vowels. When it comes to your accent patterns for vowels, if you're not sure, this is a typical pattern that many non-native speakers have. Not saying the I sound correctly, using more of an E sound. On our website on speechmodification.com, you can go to our store page and we have some free downloads. They'll show you what the typical accent error patterns are for everyone, and then also I have some specific PDFs based on your language. So if you're an Arabic speaker or French speaker or Spanish speaker, you can look up your language and see which vowel errors you may have. This is not, it's typically just because of the vowel sound system and the sound system in your native language. We tend to try to transfer those over as we're learning English, and places where we don't have the vowels, those vowel sounds are missing. So for example, for Spanish speakers, let's see if I have that image here for you. Spanish has the E vowel, but it doesn't have the I vowel. And so the substitution will be that you're using the Spanish vowel for both of these vowels that are made in the similar way in the mouth and that have a similar sound. True for other languages as well. So do check out on our website, speechmodification.com. Go to our free downloads on the store page, and you can look up your language, see what vowel errors to be paying attention to. I also talk about that and have those downloads as part of our American Accent 6-week course. That's a more comprehensive way of looking at how are you speaking now based on what your native language is and what error patterns you're likely to have. And then you can go through and work systematically on all of the sounds of English. You can use our Sounds of English course for that. That course is a really great overview of vowels and consonants. And then our American Accent 6-week course is more about how to do the changes, how to implement the knowledge that you have, how to practice, and to improve your pronunciation and fluency and intonation in English. Okay, so I'll be back again soon with our next vowel challenge series video. We're going to be holding these through November and December of this year. And of course, we have our daily Word of the Day videos and our Saturday live question and answer classes. So I hope you'll return to the channel for that. We do have a specific playlist now just for this vowel sounds series. And then I also have my larger vowels playlist that covers all of the vowels of English, gives you short and long videos and in-depth help for the vowel sounds. But the live vowel challenge series has its own playlist that you can check out. We've also recently added shadowing practice playlists, so you can check that out if that's a technique that you'd like to learn more about for improving your pronunciation and accent in English. Feel free to leave comments, questions, and requests on this video or any of my videos, and as I mentioned, I'll be back soon with the next vowel challenge series. Thanks so much for watching and for supporting the channel. Your comments, liking, sharing, subscribing all really help the channel to grow, and I appreciate your support. I'm Christine Dunbar from speechmodification.com. Remember, if you want to sound like a native speaker, you can do it. speechmodification.com. Bye, everyone. Hope to see you again soon.